Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. If you're a new listener to Daily Dose Radio, let me just tell you about the program. 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, studying the Psalms verse by verse. That's what we do every day, Monday through Friday. 5 minutes a day. So it's not a whole lot of commitment to ask you to come back and share 5 minutes with me, and we're reading through the Psalms. So not only do you get a little Bible study, but you're reading verse by verse through the Psalms, and it takes us about 4 years to do it, and we're going to do every verse. So this is the third time through. We've already done it twice through. This is our third go, and we're now in Psalm 21. Next week, Psalm 22. Psalm 22, you don't want to miss Psalm 22, because Psalm 22 has been kissed by the lips of Christ on the cross, and so you want to make sure you're here next week as we go through Psalm 22. Today we're looking at verses 11 through 13 in Psalm 21. Again, this is the psalm about the king who has been crowned, and the king who has been raised, the king who for the joy set before him endured the cross, the king whose salvation and mercy flow freely, and yet there are enemies that he has to deal with at a future date. Now we're going to look at verses 11 through 13, and we continue that idea of the enemy. And here in verse 11, if you have your Bible, I hope you'll open there with me. If you don't have your Bible, please allow me to read for you. Verse 11, "For they are inclined to evil against you. They devise wicked plans, but are not able. For you have set their shoulder. With your bowstrings you are set against their faces. Be exalted, O Lord, in your strength. We will sing and praise your might." They are inclined to evil against you. This is why the enemy is judged, and we talked about judgment there in verses 8 through 10. And so here we come to verse 11, "For they are." So this tells us about those who are going to be, made like a furnace and set in the fire. They're inclined to evil against you. It's not just that they're inclined to evil, but they're inclined to evil against the Lord, against the king. And guess what happens to those who are inclined to evil against the king? All the power of the king's force is arrayed against those who are against him. And so these that are against the Lord, they find themselves in a bad place. It says that they devise evil or wicked plans, but they're not able. So they're inclined to evil, they devise wicked plans, both of those against the Lord, but they're not able. Able to do what? Well, they're not able to accomplish their plans. You see, they lay a plan, and they have a plan, and maybe they even have a device, and maybe they even have everything set to go, but something happens. Why is that? Well, verse 12 tells us why. "For you have set their shoulder." That's my translation. Now, the King James, let me just turn over there to the King James, and we'll see what they say. "Therefore shalt thou make them turn their back." Yeah. I like "set the shoulder" better because I guess for me, it reminds me of what happened with Jacob. You remember Jacob when he was wrestling the angel, and the angel just touched the hollow of his thigh, and his hip came out of joint, and the muscle was stretched and so forth, and he had to hobble around for the rest of his life. It reminded him, of course, of that encounter with God, but it just was a touch. That's all it took, was a touch. And so this is all it takes. They have all these plans, they have all these devices, they have all this evil against the Lord, but they're not able because the Lord touches the shoulder. He puts it out of joint. They can't lift, they can't do, they can't go. And then they realize that his bowstrings are set against their faces. They're looking into, or looking down, if I can use this analogy, they're looking down the barrel of the gun. And so they realize suddenly that they're in a bad place. And then we have verse 13, "Be exalted, O Lord, in your strength. We will sing and praise your might." The King on his throne reigns and rules forever. Join me again next week, and we're going to look at Psalm 22. Thank you for joining me this week. God bless you guys. I'll see you then here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.